invocation?
I'll do it. Let's stand. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this day of life you've given us. Thank you, Father, for traveling grace to get here this afternoon. Thank you for the audience, employees and staff people there, those that are visiting. Father, we thank you for those that brought the cookies and things. Father, thank you for the rain you blessed us with. And we were getting behind and you caught us up, as you always do. Go with us now, Father. Help us make good decisions for our people. Give us wisdom. And help us, Father, do the best we can for those we serve. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Suggs. Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Julia Coates. Here. Bradley Cobb. Joe Crendon.
Here.
Jody Fishinghop. Here. Meredith Fraley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin. Chuck Hoskins Jr.
Here.
China Gloria Jordan. Present. David Gordon. Kara Cowan Watts.
Go.
John Masters. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Like approval for the March 16th regular session meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Moving on to reports. Management resources. Jack Farmer.
Good afternoon, Councilor Chairman Snell and Council. It's my privilege to appear before you on behalf of the Management Resource Group. I've reported and said to you previously, I don't have anything additional to add to my report today.
Further questions? Jody.
Yeah, I asked you about HR, the modeling of it. You said you check into that?
Yes, the HR, they have relocated an office person and made a private area for consultation with people over there.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Jack?
Jack, and I think I saw the answer to this the other day, but those two purchase of land, do you remember off the top of your head where those are? I know one's in Adair County and the other was in the report someplace.
Yes, we purchased some land, Redbird Smith, and we also purchased the Guthrie property.
Okay, yeah.
That was for Nahasta.
I got one more question, and then you can check this for me, Jack, if you would. I did inquiries before about the clinic in Jay, about their computer systems, and I understand we used to have 2 T1 lines running from there to California, and just talking to some employees, the computer systems are fairly slow. But in talking with Grand Federal Telephone Company, they have the DSL lines that are available. And I know that the price of those T1 lines are really, really expensive to get, and the DSL is 70% cheaper. So you can check on that corner if you wouldn't mind now, if we've made the switch over yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore.
The Guthrie property that you mentioned, where's that located at?
The exact county?
Yes.
Adair County.
How many acres was it?
I believe it's 195 acres.
And what is its primary use for?
For Nahasta single-family homes.
You got single-family homes on 190 acres?
195 acres, yes.
And how much did we get for it?
I believe we gave $250,000.
Yes, Jody.
And how many houses y'all found with that? That's just like a mile from my house. Because I know how rough the land is. How much did y'all figure was flat and buildable?
I believe it was 26 homes, I believe.
How many acres again?
They're going to be in 5-acre sites.
I'll be shocked.
Pardon me?
I said, I'll be shocked. That's okay.
Okay.
This time.
What are you doing with the rest of the acreage?
Well, some of the acreage is going to be setting for walking trails. The rough acres that she's talking about might be a path for walking trails, and which is allowed under the Hollister rules. It's in engineering right now. Charlie Soap is, we've handed it over to them for the development and they're doing the engineering.
Yes, Mr. President.
Jack, what about the 44 acres there in Tulsa County? You got plans for that?
I'm not quite sure.
It's got an active brick.
Oh, Acme Brick,
Yeah.
yes. We have made an offer on that, on that property.
And the plans is not all the time stuff there, or did we know that?
I believe we purchased that with Hollister? No, Riverbed Funds. We didn't have any, because of the restrictions in the land, it would not fit under the Nahasta guidelines, so we had to purchase that under the Riverbed Funds so that we could have access for the utilities.
And I guess the other question is on, and I'm sure your department's looking at, is any liability for cleanup on it, any chemicals or anything like that that we're going to be
No.
getting into?
No.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Jack? Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Moving on to the real estate services, Linda Donaldson. Yes.
I thought Angie was gonna talk to us a minute. Were you not? Yeah, come on.
Okay. Okay, you have my report in your packets, and we had a additional report as a PowerPoint on trespass in Cherokee Nation. And I have brought with me Debbie Hothouse and Joe Bean, two of my people who work out in the field and take care of a lot of these problems. And I think Jamie's going to run the slide here. I know there's been several questions from different council persons about some of the trespass issues that have been occurring. And so this is our first instance that we wanted to point out. Is this one's on CMS 69 in Adair County. This one is one that we're actually working on an easement on this one, but as you can see, you can't see that sign too well up there, but it says beware pit bulls. And then when you see the next slide, this is further down the road, and they're kind of junking the property up big time. And this is one of the things that we have a problem with when you're doing an easement. You may take this kind of a problem with you where this is not on the he's got an easement to his land, but he's not putting his junk on his land, he's put it on ours. And so we're looking at trying to get this thing cleared up. This is CMS 60. It's got a hunting cabin on it. You can see his little deer horns on his shed. You can see that he's been a prolific deer hunter. And this is only one of several hunting cabins. We've gotten a couple off. This one on Salisaw Creek, this was a hunting cabin out there, and we've had this one removed. So this unsightly thing's no longer there.
Is that antique?
It looked like an antique. This is next to where that hunting cabin was, and it looks like somebody's done clearing. There's no dozer work or anything, but you can tell that the trees must have been cut because I don't think that was a clearing before. And the next one shows, I think, well, no, it's just another one. But you can see where sometimes they put in those hunting cabins, they may have been cutting down trees for wood or something and supplementing whatever they're doing out there because we shouldn't have clearings there. This one is at the Bell Powwow Grounds. This trailer's been there about a year. We would have thought initially that it might have been one that was brought in for the powwow, I think he may have come in and just didn't leave. So that's an issue that we're going to be looking into to see why he thinks he could continue to be there. This one is this is where we have a new pine plantation, and you see Pat Gwynn and Jamie walking out there among the trees, and you see those cows up there. This is not leased for grazing. Somebody's got their cows on our land. This is another grazing trespass where somebody's keeping the grass pretty well down. But it's not one that's been leased out. They're just taking it upon themselves to graze it. This is one in Delaware County. Guess who's trespassing?
County.
Right. They don't have a lease. They're just parked their equipment out there. And of course, you know, it's a good thing because it's the green boxes, and we do want people to clean up. But they are there. This one is one that Scott Williams has brought to us about getting a easement. I don't know if you can see at the top part, that's where he was driving through. Up at the top part in that red triangle, there's a housing up there, and we asked him not to drive through that housing division because they didn't want him passing through that as a driveway. And so he was passing through down below. Jamie, can you show him where it was down below, or can they see that?
I can try. What it was is we had up in this area, these are some of those houses have been given back to the people in trust status. And what he had done, he brought a dozer in and just dozed the road through here to come down this line. Well, in doing that, he went across a couple of them septic systems. So we put a stop to that and actually tried to work out a deal where he could come into this is his property here. Tried to work out something where he could come into this bottom side, still utilizing this road that everybody uses to Greasy Lake. Well, he did not want to do that. He wants this right here. And actually, that has went to D.C. a number of times already, and we're still fighting that.
This one, Jamie, I think you can probably tell them what this one is happening here at the Red Gate.
Okay. This is down at Sequoia County line. What has happened is, I don't know, some of you council members may have got calls on this Red Gate. This is the famous Red Gate. Everything on this side of the gate is tribal land. Everything on the other side, for about 660 feet, is privately owned property. What we have is some of our tribal members will come in here and park and then walk down the road to our tribal land down the road. Well, this is supposedly a section line open, which everyone knows if section line's open, it should be available for everybody to use. Well, our tribal members get signs and notes left on their vehicles here outside the Red Gate. You know, and this is our tribal land they're running them off of. We've had several issues with this, and as you can see, this is the overview of it. The actual gate is here. This is a piece of tribal land. This is a piece of tribal land. And you can see their road goes straight across our tribal land. This was a camping area that some of the people had decided to make, and with the help of natural resources, we've come in and fenced this to where they can no longer go up and camp and lease it out for deer hunting. But you know, we try to let our tribal members get to these places, and they do have access even if they wanted to walk in, but they're getting harassed on our own property. I mean, it's an issue.
Yes.
I want to ask you exactly where is that in Sequoia County?
You know where Rattlesnake Ridge is? Old Kentucky School?
I know where that is.
Okay, it's right there.
Okay, I know.
Rattlesnake Ridge. This is another one down at Rattlesnake Ridge.
I just know Kentucky schools in Adair County.
It is, but it's right there on the line.
Okay. I know it's right on the line.
This one, this track, as you can see, there's two pathways on this on the picture on the left. there are two tracks you can see. This is where a guy is driving down across the travel track to his property, to his house. But when it gets bad on one side, he just moves over and drives on another spot. So that's one of the problems that we take when somebody is allowed, even if they are allowed. This one is a trespass, but it happens even when we allow them to drive down. If it gets bad, they'll just move over. And if it's a grazing tract, it kind of damages a lot of grazing acreage.
And this guy's a non-tribal member on that unit. And I know some of you guys, I think this is what prompted it. This is the Pettit, Donald Pettit.
This one is, they're driving across Cherokee Nation land, and you can see there's a electric line post there. That was not, the electric line was not authorized, and the road has not been authorized, but it goes across Cherokee Nation land. And I think the next slide will show the map of this, where it goes in.
Right here was where we were looking, coming in from the road. This is the county road. This is travel in, and this is
Two restricted tracks.
two restricted tracks. This has a percentage restricted, and this is 100% restricted. This is the guy's property that is driving across the property. This is 15 years old. I mean, and what, last year we, or 2 years ago, we put up a roadblock on that to force the guy to come in and sign documents that he needed an easement across those restricted tracks so that we could stop the adverse possession. And once he acknowledged that he didn't own it, that at least we helped the restricted owners in that manner, but the guy is still driving past. The problem is he can't come up from that section line on the bottom because it floods out. As you can see, that water body there floods out that road, so he can't get in that way. But if he would come up from that road at the top, way at the top, that E01, whatever it is, if he comes around that way, he could come down about a mile down a section line to get to his property from that way if he would.
This is the one where shots have been
Yeah,
fired.
that's the one where there have been shots fired out there.
They're getting really upset.
So Linda, on this one, you stopped the time on
Yes.
our adverse possession
Right.
claim. So now is he using it with our permission?
He's using it with looking at whether or not a easement's going to be granted or not. But I don't think we're going to get permission from the landowners, though, and that's the problem there.
Did we file something in the public records?
Not yet, but we probably need to. We do have his application for an easement.
No, right? I'd file it. At least it would show an intention there to stop the time.
Right. So we may need to do that. So that's our issue on that one. What's the next one? This one is a restricted land trespass, and this is Marble City School. And I think this may have come partially about through that superintendent that they had that was supposed to be getting permission to, or documentation to be able to do this. But instead of getting the permission of the landowners or buying the property, they just built on the property. And so now they have school grounds and part of their cafeteria, and that is all on the restricted owner's land. And that one is currently in litigation, and the solicitor's office is handling that to try to get it worked out for the family's benefit. This one is Gerald or Wayne Starr. We're having an issue up in the Kenwood area. The parts in yellow that you see there is where he's encroaching on the property. This one we're working with him currently to see if we can get surveys. He has agreed to pay for surveys to show that he believes he's right, but I don't know how we can be wrong when you're talking about 10-acre tracts or 20 acres. But he's insisting on a survey to show that he thinks that he's right and that we're wrong. So we're working towards that to see if we can't show him that he is fencing in our property and utilizing it for his benefit when he shouldn't be. And this is just, okay, this is the one that is the Kenwood 5 up in Delaware County. This is the Squeaker issue where he's been wanting an easement. And I think this one shows a little bit better rendition. You see where the roadway that goes up into the track towards the purple, the white line. I don't know if you can see that, which one I'm talking about here. But the long one is the way that he is still driving through. And over there on the side in yellow towards the purple, that's where we would prefer that he drive in. It's a little more hilly there, but he still has to go over a hill just to get to it from the other way too. But we would prefer him to go in at a short distance and not go down almost the middle of the track. And I think that was the last one. And what we're wanting to do now is and we've been talking with Diane Hammonds in the AG's office about putting together a policy to bring to you on what should be done or what we can do to try to establish some tribal policies on trespass, because we have the CFRs to go by, and it creates one set of rules, but it also allows for the tribe to set its own rules and regulations. And we need rules on the trespass, and we need rules on the easement type situations, on what type of easements you want to allow, what type of remedies you want to allow on the trespass. And that's what we're going to be working on with the AG's office, to bring to you something on that basis so that we can maybe get a lot of these issues like this resolved. There are more trespasses than these. A lot of them stem through like the 300 plus houses that were built there that we were going to transfer to the people. They all encroach further out. They get an acre or 2 acres, but they want to use 3 or 5. So we have those issues, plus there's the issues of maybe they're running more cattle on their lands with their leases than they should be. That even creates a trespass. So we are looking at all of these types of situations.
Carrie, you have a question?
Okay. Okay, and that's my report.
Yes, I have I guess a comment that I'd like to be considered. I can't think of the gentleman's name who lives in Broken Arrow, but he's a full-blood. You're 80 years old. He has property that he has to cross trust land to get to it. And he's asked for an easement, and I don't know if he's contacted you yet or not, but he's going to.
Uh-huh.
And this is my personal feeling. If we have an Indian person that has that type of land, I would be in favor of giving them some type of easement to get to it, with some caveat on it, on the easement, that the Cherokee Nation has the first option that the land is ever sold, from a family or from the Cherokee Indian or a tribal system. The others I don't have much sympathy for. If they bought the land out there and knew it was landlocked, they should have checked that out before. Although we want to be good neighbors, I'm sure of that, but we need to look and see if there's another way to get into it and get a policy to where we give them an option to get something done, within 6 months or a year or however long we're going to do it. But I'd certainly like to help some of our Indian folks that are in those situations. But that's just my comment to think about.
Okay, and we'll add that to be considered on when we do things. Okay.
I think that the gentleman has talked about Dewey, Alberta.
Yeah, Dewey and Alberta, that's the guy's name.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I hate to go back, but on the Redbird Smith property,
Right.
what was the purchase price on it?
That 780, the Redbird Smith. It was 250 on that one too? It's 250.
250?
250,000.
Thank you.
Kramer?
Were we able to renew the lease on the Kenwood property to Salinas back on?
I think we can. we'll probably bring that back to you as a resolution to vote on a resolution on that's the telephone line.
Yes.
Right. Yes, and he did contact us back. Okay.
Any more questions for Linda? Thank you, Ms. Donaldson.
Thank you.
Move on to roads and transportation, Michael Lynn.
Good afternoon. You should have my report in your package this month. I've got just a couple of things I'd like to highlight since the report was presented. We did hold a couple of public meetings this month, early in April, one in the Honey Hill community for a project that we've had going on over there for quite some time. We're at the phase where we are ready now to start moving utilities on one portion of that project. We've decided to phase that project because of some right-of-way issues. We've decided to phase that project into two separate phases, and we are ready to start moving utilities on one phase of the project. The project's been drug out for so long due to these right-of-way issues I wanted to go ahead and hold another public meeting out there to let folks know that it was still going to happen, and that they may see some equipment in their front yards at some point in the near future moving the utilities. There's been a lot of property out there change hands over the years that we've been in negotiations and things. We've had folks come to us and say they've acquired this property over the years and didn't realize that any of this was going to happen, and that they didn't realize they're going to lose the two big oak trees in their front yard and things like that. So I wanted to hold a meeting out there and just kind of get everything out on the table and make everyone aware of what was going on in that project. We also held another community meeting up in Delaware County on what we're calling the Kansas Dry Creek Project. We had a really good turnout on that meeting. Most of the people, I believe, on the project are for the project. The ones that we heard that were not for it, we did not attend the meeting. But overall, I think it'll be a big improvement in that area. That is in the real early design stages, but we did want to hold a community meeting out there to let folks know what the status was. Lastly, I'd like to mention on the 31st of March, we did open bids on a project here in Cherokee County called the Rice Woodard Road Project. Those bids are still being evaluated right now, and there's been no official award made at this time. We've got one project that I've received paperwork on. We'll be going to the Executive Finance Committee this month. The motor fuel tax funded project with Tulsa County, sponsored by Council Members Anglin, Councilmember Cobb, for $254,534. It'll be going forth this month. That is all that I have to report. If there's any questions.
Any questions for Michael? Yes, sir.
Michael, I've got one on Rice Woodard, the contractor to be informed of employees' reporting requirements for the stimulus dollars. What kind of reporting do you have to do?
That is going to be funded with stimulus dollars, and the contractor has, again, there's not been a contractor selected yet, but they will be required to report on employment statistics, and we're not quite certain on exactly what that report is going to entail. It's still all being worked out, and we've not got final word on that yet. Still a lot of unanswered questions on this whole stimulus package, but we are working through that.
So I guess it's to see how many jobs is created, and not necessarily how many negatives.
Right. I believe it's on the total job creation. Yes.
Thank you.
Michael, how about the fencing on these projects? When you do a road, is there any way that we can, I don't know what we would do, can we fence that, everything that we've paved, like the Dry Creek Road? So there's a lot of fencing there just on tribal properties, didn't get fenced back.
Our policy in the past has been, if we get into the fence during construction, if we take the fence out during construction, we'll replace it with like or better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe what my question is, can we appropriate the money to fence that road? See, there's a lot of, like livestock and stuff. Plus, we don't know where our property, where the nation property lies and where it goes. So there's a lot of nation property down that Dry Creek Road that don't have a fence on it. But it's nation property.
Right.
So there's no way the local people don't know how to identify that. is how they back in there and take off and use the property. But I would think that we ought to at least be able to fence our own property.
Yeah.
It belongs to the nation.
I agree with you. And on that project, it wasn't designed that way in the beginning, and it should have been, yes. And we are looking at that and imposing that on future projects. I know that's been in discussion for a long time. I think Mr. Buzzard could tell you that we've talked about it for a long time. We ought to be fencing our own property when we build these projects. And it didn't happen on that particular project you're talking about, but it will happen on future projects.
Sure. And then at the Black Fox, Butch Black Fox place,
Yes.
there's a big, large hole of water there. We looked at it one time, talked about putting a drain underneath. Can we still drain that somewhere or another?
Yeah, we can, and that was what we talked with the landowner. That wasn't Mr. Black Fox that I spoke with, but it was another landowner. Turtle, I believe, was her name.
Yeah, Richard Black Fox passed away.
Okay.
That's his daughter.
Okay. Same family then. Yeah, that was what I told her at that time, was that we could let us get the project completed and come back in there and take a look at it at that time. I wanted some vegetation to take over down there as well to find out if that helped the problem or not. But if it's still holding water, we need to look at it.
Still holds a lot of water.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And I have a follow-up question on that Fairview that you wrote, Michael. Is he going to go back and fix those?
It should be fixed. He should have fixed it at the end of last week.
Oh, okay.
They
I haven't been over for him.
I haven't been up there myself, but he did come by late last week and tell me that he was completed. I haven't seen it again, but it should be complete.
And then, did I hear you say that you were going to put fencing in for private property?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any more questions from Michael? Thank you, Michael. Where's the other one?
Michael, when do you think you'll make your final decision on Rice Group?
As soon as we get some more information on what the stimulus package is going to entail, as far as reporting requirements, and again, we're still evaluating the bid. That bid were a little lower than we expected them to be, and that's cause for some concern. And
Because we don't want what happened on the road north to happen.
that's exactly right. So that was cause for some concern. So we are evaluating those and looking at them line by line. And before any award is made, we'll, if it is made to the lowest bidder in this case, we would definitely call them in and speak to them about their bid before any award is made.
We're requiring a bond for the entire
Oh yes,
project.
most definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Moving on to environmental programs, there's Ryan Carlson. Hello, Tom.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I think you have our report in front of you, so I won't bore you with reading that to you. But I did want a few things that had come up since the time that we submitted the report. We had an EPC meeting at the first week of the month, and there were some issues at the landfill that the EPC wanted to go back over. One of them is construction for the water use for construction, and they want to have a better understanding of how the landfill wants to use water down there. They had wanted a couple different sources. One is the leachate on site there, and another one is that little spring, one of the springs down there, and they weren't satisfied with the information that they were provided. So we have a special meeting a week from today on the 20th at 9:30 over on Allen Road, and that was sent out, but I can, if you didn't get that for some reason or another, I can sure send that to you again. And those are going to be on that agenda. And then I guess as a follow-up, I somewhat report on our recycling efforts, and we've been looking over what a contractor has given us as far as prices to recycle, and we're still going through back and forth about, not back and forth so much, we want to do it. It's something that has to be done, but we want to do it and get the biggest bang for our buck. We don't want to pay any more than we have to, and if we can do some of some of that work internally cheaper than farming it out, we're going to do it internally. I mean, if we can make it part of the process that we already do internally, there's no sense in paying someone. On the other hand, if we can get it cheaper from a contractor rather than doing it ourselves, we'll do that. And so we want to trim it out to where the things that we're doing that we can do more efficiently and do that internally, we want to do that. And the things that we can't, that we need to farm out, we'll select those. And so that's an ongoing process, and we just haven't finalized it, but we're much closer. We are much closer. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Question from Mr. Akins? Yes, all right.
Tom, do you know when the new sale is going to be completed on this?
It was put back a little bit, not so much the weather, the construction. They anticipate, I think, at first it was mid-March. I think it's going to be the first part of May. I don't think they'll get done this month.
No question, Tom? Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Moving on down to old business. Number 1, Cherokee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe Melanie Knight was supposed to be here to present legislation, but I think Greg Simmons is here in her stead. Do we have copies of that?
On new business.
So it's page 21. Okay, now I'm not sure. This is the one that we've submitted. I'm not finding it. Kelly. That's the old, where's the legislation that they submitted that was?
The old business is the one we've been tabling for months. The new one that we just received is on new business. It's page 41.
Okay, so
and
we'll
it's new
table
business
this.
item 7.
Okay. We'll table this and we'll wait for the new legislation.
Motion table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on down to new business. Resolution authorizing Cherokee Nation to lease trust land to Factory Incorporated. Jody Fishing.
First off, Joe needed to be added to it, Linda.
Okay, Jim.
Yeah, his name was left off. This is a resolution to lease 11 acres at the Cherokee Nation Industrial Park in Adair County to pass it for 25 years with an option to renew it 25 years. Make a motion for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 2, Cherokee County lots.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution that authorizes the Section 103 of the Clean Air Act for EPA funding in the amount of $850,000 with no match required. And this will support an ongoing effort for ambient air monitoring at 5 existing stations, as well as the purchase of a community mobile particulate air monitoring station.
Second. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Chairman? I apologize for this. A lot of these ones that we have 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I would ask if it's not too much of a problem to forward these to full council. The turnaround time on them was just terribly quick, and we had to get them through the door.
Mr. Chair, I accept that as a friendly amendment to my motion.
Three, 4, 5, and 6. We'll have a discussion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
What, that's the clarification I was asking. What clarification? in accepting the friendly amendment, did you add 3, 4, and 5? And 6?
And Mr. Chair, I believe we'll visit those as we go, and I'll ask that they all move straight to council.
Okay.
Okay, we took here number 3, resolution authorizing Cherokee Nation Environmental Program to submit a formal application to the U.S. Department Environmental Protection Agency for the Indian General Assistance Program. That would be in the amount of $313,195. I'll move for its approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Move down to number 4, Cherokee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This one is a grant for $75,000 with no match required, and it's to clean and close 3 dump sites within the Cherokee Nation, which would be the equivalent of about 200 tons of waste removed from our environment. I move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And go to full council.
Oh, and may I make a motion, thank you, that we move that straight to council? We already voted on it. Mr. Chair? That's the one we just did, needs to go straight to council. And I made a motion, we've already voted, so I'm making a separate motion.
I would second that and accept that.
And vote one more time.
Aye.
Okay, you made a motion.
And we voted.
And we voted, right?
So this is a separate motion to move it straight to council.
And I seconded it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 6. Item number 5, Kara?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is to provide household hazardous waste collection events in 3 communities within the tribal boundaries. And it is in the amount of $75,000 with no match required, and I make a motion to move it directly to council this evening.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Number 6, the resolution authorizes the submission of a proposal to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for a Cherokee lead certification accreditation program. The amount of this grant is $71,708.
I make a motion that we approve it and move it to full council.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Point of clarification, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I believe on number 3 that although we passed it, that we did not, I don't recall there being anything about moving it to full council this evening, and I wondered if it needed to be.
And I'll second her motion. And full council.
Got a motion second, move number 3 to full council. Do I hear any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item number 7, Cherokee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to hear from Mr. Greg Simmons at this time, if the body will allow.
Yes.
Hi, Melanie apologized. She came up with the stomach flu and wasn't able to come in today. At first, if it would please the body, I'd like to give you some of the updates that our green team and the green team at C&E have been doing to work on some of these initiatives. We've drafted several policies on vehicle replacements, water and septic fixtures, TV and computer recycling. Those haven't been implemented yet. We're still trying to get input from everybody. We purchased and placed into use a bulb crusher for fluorescent lights. We're working on the reuse and repurposing of cell phones and eyeglass frames. We started the dialogue about green options for construction and in rehab, and our plan is to start with Nation facilities and then move that out to our housing. We're working on recycling paper, cardboard, glass, aluminum, and plastic. We've been recycling paper and cardboard over the years, but since the economy has changed, we're now looking at having to pay for that service instead of actually getting paid for it. So we're looking at a taro vendor that submitted a bid, and we're just trying to add, since we've added on facilities and different things, we're looking at what's the most cost-effective way to recycle all those materials. Some places like Health are continuing to recycle paper and cardboard by going to Georgia Pacific. We're going to have to get a marketing plan together to incent our employees to recycle and use these recycling bins. Next week, we expect to finalize our recommendations, which will go to the chief for some budgets, and hopefully in May, we will have a budget modification to do some of this recycling effort. So hope to bring that before you. And just a note on C&E, I got a copy of their a little newsletter from their green team, and it says they're using the same vendor that we're looking at, and since they implemented just in the back of the house operations in Catoosa, they've recycled 29.24 tons of waste, and according to their vendor, it said they saved 437 trees, 106 cubic feet of landfill space, 53 barrels of oil, and reduced carbon dioxide by 9 tons. So we're very proud of them. And since their pilot, they're fixing to start at all their casinos doing the recycling in the back of the house. As far as the act goes, what we're doing is establishing timelines for to put all of these policies, get them written. They would be for Cherokee Nation government and all the entities. And so we're currently working with each entity because, like say, TV recycling is not a big deal to the nation because, you know, what are we doing, 15, 20 TVs a year? Well, that expense is greater for, say, C&E because of the amount of televisions they have. So we're trying to work out all of those issues so across all the entities. So what we're asking is that's one thing that does, and we're asking that we act on this this piece of legislation next month so we can get more input from the business entities. Another thing it does, oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just want to, I know Secretary Knight could not be here today, but I really, really, really appreciate her leadership and the leadership of the Green Team and such that we're to this point because we absolutely have to be here. And what was interesting was, I guess my husband saw Choctaw Nation's commercials because he gets to hear me on the phone talking about some of these issues. And Choctaw Nation has declared they're going green. I was down there on Thursday, and I couldn't even recycle my aluminum can at their resort in Durant. So I would like to, even though we may not have commercials, I would like to be the leader in this. And I think that this piece of legislation, when we're done discussing, I will be making a motion to table till next month and ask that they bring back the copies of the actual policies and stuff so that we can see what we're actually asking for. But I really, really appreciate their leadership, and I hope that this body looks at the numerical goals that are being asked for on this to see that it's where we want to be. And that's what we'll act on next month. So, Mr. Simmons, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
And if you're not done, you got more questions.
Okay.
Question, Councilor Brown.
2 things. Do you have any personal knowledge of the conversation that occurred with eyeglasses?
I am not specific. I know in Norma's, in Human Services, I don't know any specifics, but it was about collecting the frames and then being able to save some money by giving those.
Well, here's where
but I'm not exactly sure of any of the details.
Here's where I'm going with this, and I'd like somebody to have this discussion before next month. At my office, since I've been in practice, which is longer than I care to admit, but the Lions Club picks those up, and the Lions Club International Foundation, their big thing is eyesight, and I know that I don't know how many thousands of pairs of eyeglasses they take out of Bartlesville every year. They go to South America and they basically find a prescription that roughly matches somebody that needs a pair of glasses. I'm not completely suggesting we do that here, but I do know there are places that take those eyeglasses, and the Lions Club is one of them. And there may be some more, but I do know the Lions Club would be thrilled to get eyeglasses for that reason. Second thing is, I'm a goal-oriented person, and I would like to know, are there state and federal entities that recognize corporate, tribal / city entities for their efforts in what we're about to do? And I'd like to go after some of those recognition. I'm sure some of them come with monetary values, but just the fact that you can shoot for something and actually be recognized, I'd like to see what's available at a state and a federal level on that, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the draft of this legislation wanting us to go down this road, so I want to say that from the outset. I did have a question about Section 4D in terms of cost effectiveness. From C&E standpoint, would C&E make some determination as to whether it could meet the benchmarks, if you will, and then they would forward its recommendation on to the chief, who would in turn determine that benchmarks cannot be reached? I'm curious as to how, and if you don't know the answer now, that'd be what I'd be curious about by next month, is how would that process play out from C&E specifically, or any of the business entities? And then second, I just want to express a concern that, while this administration might be committed to being green, this seems like it's susceptible to, what is not being cost effective. And, would administration down the road say, well, we're just not going to adhere to these goals, so we're going to say it's not cost effective? I don't think this administration would, but others might. So I would, and I don't know, I don't have any language in mind, but I'd want us to maybe entertain the idea of some third-party arbiter, somebody within the government that could say, conduct some sort of a hearing to say, okay, tell us why. Maybe it's the environmental commission. Maybe tell us why you can't meet these goals. Demonstrate it. Don't just say it internally and then publish it in the Phoenix and you're out. So that's one thing I think we ought to consider, is making it a little tougher, frankly, for us to wiggle out of these benchmarks. But other than that, I appreciate the effort. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You have a motion to the table?
If there's no other discussion.
Any more questions?
I've got one question. Greg, maybe you can find out. I think Don and Kelly is actually heading this up. The recycling plant over in Watts, what materials are they going to be accepting there? And probably it's going to be wood materials, but I'd like to know, what else are going to be plastic is. Okay. And then whether people can actually take materials there to sell.
I will find that.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
Before I table, I would invite anyone else is welcome to co-sponsor this with us. There's already a small group. And if anyone else would like to join, please let me or Shelley or both of us know to add you. And I'll make them. Meredith Brayley, just raise your hand. So please add her as a co-sponsor, and Don Garvin and Janelle Fulbright. And then I'll make a motion to table to next month for action.
Well, action, I hear a second. Having discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And we're not announcements, next meeting. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I think we moved all these new items to the council tonight, except number 1. I don't believe it got moved, so I make a motion that Jody's will be included in the council meeting tonight.
I'll think that. Motion second, any discussion? Yes.
I have a question. Jeffy's not here and Linda's not here. That said a Delaware corporation. I was assuming that was the state of Delaware.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking. Okay. That's all I have. Just checking.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Now we're at, move on to the next item. Announcements. Next meeting will be Monday, May 11th.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Adjournment. We have a motion.
And a second by Buell.
All in favor?
Yes. Dana?
Oh, you
Are you going to get on the bus?